Looks like we are getting close to time. If you can hear me, go ahead and type in the chat that you can hear me. I'd like to make sure we can hear. I'm having trouble hearing folks on my end, but I believe I'm good to go. We are live. We are ready to get started today. In just a minute or so, we're going to jump right in. Okay, good. I got somebody else saying they can hear me. Looks like we have a handful of folks already online. We had a bunch of registrations, so we're super excited about that. Super excited to have everybody here. All right, I see we have 34 attendees currently. Anybody want to type in the chat what state you're in? We'll find out where we are as we're waiting just a couple of seconds to get started. See if you guys are able to find the chat. All right. Oh, check the questions box. I see. All right, maybe that's on me then. There we go. There we go. Excellent. Hanford, California. Armando, shout out to Hanford. Good to see you here. Glad you're here, my friend. All right, let me pull that out separately, and I can see all the chats. North Carolina, Southwest Virginia, Texas. Wow, Ontario, Canada, fantastic. Missouri and Texas, and on Orlando. All right. Yeah, we got some California, we got Missouri. Nice. I figured out where to find the answers to, so thank you for that. All right, glad to hear you guys. I'm glad you guys are all here. This is really amazing. It's a lot of fun to do these webinars. But today we are here talking about revenue, right? So for a little bit about me, I am, as we look to get started here, so buckle your seat belts. We're gonna jump right into this. I've been in Parks and Recreation over 30 years, mostly out in California. And in 2016, kind of unplugged and did the homestead thing, but I love Parks and Recreation. I can't quit. And so I started doing sessions at conferences around the country, as well as starting doing some webinars now. So I'm excited to be doing that. Excited to be with you and to bring this topic to you as well. So first question, right off the top, why is it vital for agencies to pursue revenue generation, right? So we're going to throw this to a poll question. And so Keisha's going to throw that up there. We're going to find out what you guys think. I put three possibilities for you. Oh, let me put these back on so I can find out. Go ahead and type in the poll, find the poll, click on it. Give your best answer, right? Which is most important? What's the most important reason? All right, we're getting, oh good, we have some new folks joining us, appreciate that. We're jumping right into a poll, nice, excellent. Oh, it's still growing, we'll give it a couple more seconds. That's awesome to see. All right, so we have 63% people voted, looks like it's still climbing. Good deal. Again, this is the most important reason, right? Oh, nice. All right, cool. So about 78, we're at 78% voted. I think we're getting close. We're close to that. All right, so fantastic. So what we're going to do is, let me hide that real quick. Oh, nice. So the winner, by far the lead is providing additional resources for other programs. So if you're like me, you probably thought, gosh, why isn't there an all the above answer, right? I want to choose all three. Well, yes. So indeed, the benefits of increased revenue is indeed increasing cost recovery. It is indeed providing additional revenue sources, and both of those help us to better meet our mission, right? So all three are kind of involved. I kind of feel like the first two led to the third one, right? Which is the ultimate goal, is we're meeting our mission, right? We're not corporations, so we're not necessarily striving for. It's not all about money, right? We have a greater purpose than just making money. However, we need to be focused on it so that we can be increasing our cost recoveries and providing those additional resources, so we can be meeting our mission. Yeah, I think it's a good way to start the idea. I kind of wanted to set the foundation as we jump right into. We only have about 45 minutes of discussion, and then we have some question and answers at the end. So we look forward to getting there. Our objective today is, let's provide dozens of creative and exciting revenue generating ideas for you to chew on. The goal is that you go away with at least one idea that you can improve, you can start on, tomorrow, maybe even later today, right? Hopefully you'll have a couple dozen ideas as well. We're going to probably hit 50 to 60 topics. Some of these you're going to already have seen or know, or you'll already be doing. Others will be a new idea, or perhaps a new way of thinking about a revenue idea that you hadn't thought of before. So we're hoping to motivate you to jump in there tomorrow and put some of these ideas into action. All right. All right. Great. Let's jump in. I put the revenue generating ideas, I put them into categories. So I tend to think of these in terms of 7 different categories. First category would be tax related revenue, right? So that's fairly obvious. We'll talk about that as well. Facility related revenue, revenues that come from our facility management, and also our program revenues, right? We have our recreation programs, and those can bring in some revenue. Advertising and sponsorship revenue. How about value added revenue? We're discussing what that is. And concession and leasing revenue, as well as we're going to talk about your potential for donations. Let me adjust my screen for a second. Good deal. All right, so these are the 7 categories we're going to be diving into. Let's jump right into item A. All right, tax-related revenue. Off the top, this might fall into the obvious category, right? Property tax revenue. We don't have much to do with that typically. If we are if we're in a department that belongs to a city, that just kind of happens, and those monies are spread out, right? Those are our general funds. If you're a private recreation facility, a sports facility, right? This is not, probably doesn't even apply, right? In terms of you're not going to be receiving tax revenue from folks. So we'll get plenty of stuff that applies to you as well if you're in a private sports facility. So that's coming right up. This is pertinent to those cities and counties and special districts. This is also pertinent to those special districts and cities and counties, and the idea of park impact fees, where the developer comes in, they pay a fee to the impact for a school, for school districts. There's no reason our park systems couldn't be also implementing some fees that apply to a new neighborhood, let's say, right? The idea here is that if new people come in to the community, they're going to need new services, right? And so they're going to pay for those services. It really is paying for a new park to go in. So a lot of cities are doing this. I also found, as I travel the country and speak at different conferences across the state, a lot of cities and counties are not even implementing these as well. Again, for those public recreation folks, the landscape and lighting district or a community facility district is a way to go as well. So we'll jump into something maybe folks haven't thought of. And again, this is on the public side. We'll get to the private facility side here in a second. There is the potential for a bond measure for recreation. What I've found in public recreation is that for bonds, you see somebody like the school districts, they'll do it and all the time. They do bonds for everything, and it's always for the kids, right? And there's merit to that, right? It's if people want to benefit the kids. I worked for a special district out in California that we had instead of the threshold, well, 55% that the school district had to pass a bond with, we had a 67, a 2/3 measure, and so we worked really hard to get that bond measure passed. It actually passed just by percentage points over that 66.66 threshold. So we were at 67 like 0.1, but that was a lot of extra work to do. But it was huge and very helpful in getting some funding for our recreation department. This is for public recreation, of course. And then the idea was that we were a special district, so folks were more likely to vote yes versus being a city. Sometimes there's distrust in city and county. Where's the funding actually going to go? That kind of thing. But we are a Parks and Recreation district, so it went straight to facilities, and we were able to keep our promises with that. So that's a fun idea as well. Let's jump right into some facility-related revenue. I'm gonna take a quick second here. I do apologize. I know I talk fast. I tend to get rolling downhill. I'll try and take a pause break, but again, we got lots of ideas to share, right? All right, so facility rentals, the obvious, of course, would be, hey, we rent buildings, we rent rooms, we rent sports fields, we rent picnic areas, right? But have we thought about reassessing our fee structure? There's a market value out there that we want to address. What is that market value? What I'm saying is, if a field is renting for $15 an hour, can it rent for $17 an hour, right? And not decrease demand. So at some point in a market value concept, the pricing is so high that it starts diminishing the demand for that facility, right? But typically we find that, especially in public recreation, the fees are set at such a low rate that there's room to move up within the market value and not diminish our demand for facilities. All right. Oh, and we also want to make them defensible. So that's a whole nother session. When you see that little guy in the bottom right, that means I have a whole nother session that talks about this topic here. We can spend 75 minutes deep diving into facility related revenue ideas as well, and how to manage facilities. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Let's see, other type of facility rentals. This is the not so obvious category. Have you ever thought of renting a parking lot? So often this is not so. People think, oh, there's no way we could rent a parking lot. But basically what I would do is I would rent it per slot, but they don't get to choose the number of slots. So I'm going to pre-arrange for this parking lot over here is rentable, and there's going to be time limits on it, right? If there's let's say it was a library parking lot that's not open on the weekends, let's say. And so the parking lot is now available on the weekends, and there's plenty of other parking for that park facility. But this other parking lot is small, maybe it has 15 slots. They're going to pay a per slot rate, and for all 15, they don't get to pick and choose. They don't get to do just two, right? The idea is that sometimes people want, like if they want to have ponies or a pony ride, that needs to be off the grass, and they can be on some cement, so they can actually rent a parking lot there. If you have a large parking lot that has traffic flow and splits kind of in halves, you can take one whole half and make that rentable for these park rentals as well. And then the other half is still for parking, right? Because then the traffic flow still works. So you can work with your police traffic folks to make sure that you're not violating any traffic flow rules, that kind of thing. And also you're going to put the time limits and time restraints on which parking lots are available when, if at all, right? So that's an idea for you there. Sometimes people get into renting streets. That's typically in a downtown area. Folks can rent streets, or usually a nonprofit doing a major event, a community event. They'll block off some different streets, and there's lots of caveats that go with that as well. The sports courts, I would say, yes, this is basketball courts, this is tennis courts. Let's jump in. Let's make those rentable. What we're trying to avoid is the tennis instructor coming and using our tennis courts for their business to then make their money off of our sports courts and then taking it up for so that other community members can't get in there and use the facilities because they're using it for their business. So I would have make the courts rentable. We had our tennis courts rentable at just simple like $5 an hour. It's still first come first serve. You can use it for free, but if you want to reserve it, you can. And then then there's a rate that's higher, right, for the nonprofits. For the commercial rate, right? Cheaper for the nonprofits, more expensive for the commercial rate. So the person who's renting it for their business is we're getting a little bit of that cut for that. And that probably applies more to the public recreation than the sports facilities. I know in the sports facilities you guys have the sports course. You're probably already doing this. Everything is rentable, right? Yeah. All right, let's try something else. Another idea at the bottom here. Last one was the banners. A lot of communities, public recreation folks will have they'll make arrangements for a banner to go across the street, so that's typically nonprofit groups can then rent the banner space for a certain amount of time to advertise what their events are coming up, right? So that's a fun idea as well. Okay, now we're going to jump right into the equipment rentals. Of course, you can be renting the sports gear if you're not currently doing this. Basketballs, tennis rackets. The idea is only limited by your creativity. What facilities do we have that people need equipment for that they don't want to maybe purchase? And that'd be perfect for a rental, right? They can use it and bring it back. Maybe make it into a package. This idea is lots of fun. You take the volleyball net and a ball and the rope lines. If there's a horseshoe pit in the park that's near the park rental, this is perfect. The idea for when someone's renting a park picnic area and there's some facilities nearby, they can have this package and have all the equipment right there for their event, for the gathering. All right. So it's something if you're not doing currently, it's an easy one to add on, to pick up the information, pick up the pieces, put it into a duffel bag, have a checkout system, and you can rent it. Yeah, I like that idea too. All right, let's talk about jump houses. So again, this is maybe applies more towards the public recreation folks, where we have somebody will rent a park facility, a picnic area for a birthday party, and without telling us, they're going to have a jump house come out there, and then the jump house is put up on the grass and it tears up the lawn. And our public works folks, our maintenance folks are getting all upset at us because we have a lot of foot turns on the grass, especially if there's some water involved, if it's one of those water slide kinds. Now you have a big old mess. So we would prescribe specific areas for the jump house to be. We want it to be in this particular area, and there's certain prescribed areas. But then we also found that, even though we talked to the major jump house companies in town, there's a lot of other ones that are popping up all the time, and they don't know where to go. And again, the same problem kept happening. So what we ended up doing was this: we wanted the jump house companies to abide by the certain rules, right? To know which parks they're allowed to be in and which one they aren't to be in. But the idea is we're going to give the customer who is coming to us to rent the facility, to rent the picnic area, we're going to give them this registry. We're not, quote, recommending any of these jump house companies, but they are people who have agreed to our rules, and they've agreed to be on this list. And there's a small fee for doing so, right? So they pay to be on this list. It's a marketing opportunity for the jump house company, because we're going to give their information directly to people who are renting our park, who would be the prime targets for their business, right? All right, let's jump on to something else. Same idea, still in facilities. Let's talk about birthday party rentals. It's not just a building. We want to create that space as well. This can be outdoors, an outdoor space. Often, newer pools are already going to have a space built in for the birthday parties. With commercial facilities, this is probably already built into the business plan. But the idea with older pools is, can you create a space where they can have a birthday party? And one instance, we had to put a gate into a fence that went into a secondary fenced-in area where we could then have some shade and have some additional tables, and it could be a private area. So there was a single entrance, so other kids wouldn't be flowing through there, but somebody could rent that area for their birthday party, right? So there's ways that we modified the facility to increase the potential for this revenue right here with the birthday parties. All right, yeah, we're doing good. If you have a unique area in a park, I had some strange rock outcroppings, and we were able to make that into a fun birthday party themed area as well. We made that rentable. So we looked for special areas to make them rentable. That were excited. People were excited to get a hold of those. Here's an idea. What if you, as your company, as your city, were to be the party? The idea is, this is another birthday package idea, but we do everything. We are the staff. Where you rent the facility, you pay extra for this birthday package. The fee of this is, of course, going to be 150, 200 or more % increase over the costs of the decoration, of the staff, of the cake, of the themes. We would limit to like 3 themes, whatever's current for kids those days. But we would come in with everything. The place would be decorated. So guess what? Mom who wants to throw a birthday party can just rent the facility, rent this package with enough time out ahead of time. And then she knows that when she shows up, everything's gonna be ready for her. We're gonna run the games. We're gonna have the party ready to go. There's a lot less hassle for mom, right? So this was a highly coveted package. And of course, we offered it at our own facilities, right? We knew our facilities. We're gonna make it work for us. Now this one, what if you take the same idea of be the party, instead of our facility, we go to them, right? The idea here is that we had a movies in the park program. Excuse me. We had the screen, the projector, the sound system, and a lot of folks, especially nonprofits, they always wanted to, gosh, can we borrow? can we borrow your blow up screen? The answer is no. Actually, it's hell no. There's no way we're letting you use it. It's gonna get tore up. It's gonna get messed up. It's gonna get it's gonna be bad news. So the idea here, we own this projector, we own the screen, we own the equipment. For an extra fee here, we will come to your place and set it up there. We're going to pre-scout the area, so we're not getting stuck in mud or those kind of things, or if it's, I don't know, looking for hazards that might be a problem. But we will bring the whole movie setup and do that part for their event for this extra fee. Something to consider. Maybe this is the one idea you take away and put in action. Let's see. The idea here is just, I already said this, cover at least definitely well more than 100%. We're looking at 200%, 300% pricing markup, because this is a very high specialty item. The pricing should reflect that. Yeah. All right, let's jump into recreation programs. Hope you guys are doing good. Seatbelt still fastened. I know if some of you are taking copious notes, do know that you will be able to receive the PowerPoint here afterwards. We're going to send it to you, so you'll have that as well. Excuse me. That way you can jump in and look at this at, at a slower pace. I know we're moving pretty quickly, but that's part of the fun, right? On the obvious side, program recreation revenue. Let's talk about participants. The more participants, the more revenue, right? Duh. So that's fairly obvious. But we want to find ways to find opportunities within recreation programs. If you're talking about contract instructor classes where the instructor gets paid a percentage of the student fee, again, there's a market value on these classes that can be set for the fee of these classes, and we typically tend to set them too low. So we want to make sure we're setting the fee correctly. We also want to look at our instructor percentage, right? This is a whole nother topic, right? I have a whole nother session on just this contract instructor topic here. But I would say tell people it's 60% split, meaning they get 60% of the student fee and we get our 40%. Internally, I'm going to know that I might go to 65, I might go to 70, never higher than 70% of the percentage. This is again, there's another session. You see my little red man down there. This is a whole nother conference session as well. But so if you're interested in this topic, that'd be great. Yeah, so there's a lot to do with here with contract instructor classes that can help increase revenues for other programs as well. This is a great something that's vital that we consider. All right, aquatic programming. My example here was in one of my agencies I was with, I found a misalignment between the rec swim hours and then the swim lessons. So we're always looking to balance our programming to fit the need, but also with an eye towards maybe revenue as well. Can we do both? Can I meet the need and increase revenue at the same time? The answer here was yes. I had an agency that had a 4-hour rec swim, and then we did swim lessons before and after those times, right? And our swim lessons were off the hook. They were in demand. There was waiting lists for everybody. And so what we were able to do is look at, do people really need a 4-hour rec swim? What about a 3-hour rec swim? What about a 2-hour rec swim? So we cut it down to a 2-hour rec swim. And yeah, the same number of people still came to rec swim. They just came at the time it was open. And then we also had 2 more hours of swim lessons, which if they're a half hour each, that's probably 4 additional lessons times every slot on the pool. We were able to better meet our demand for swim lessons, which is a public good, right? The kids are learning water safety, less drownings. So look for this. Look for a place that there might be a misalignment. This might be something that's a simple thing to adjust, but also helps you meet your mission while also increasing the revenue. Right? So yeah, swim lessons if they're in high demand. Let's jump into special events shirts. This is fairly obvious. Hopefully you're doing this now. When you have a special event, you can do the event T-shirt, and the sponsors go on the back of the shirt. It's typical that the big logo at the top is a much higher dollar sponsor than all the little names at the bottom can be a lower value sponsor. Having the lower value sponsors allows for more companies to participate, right, at a cheaper dollar amount. They get their name on the shirt as well. So these are great for fun runs, youth sports, Olympics, athletics, and special events. Yeah, so this is something hopefully we're already doing. I imagine most of us are. But how about this idea? I mentioned movies in the park. So movies, you ever go to the movie theater, you're going to see advertisements in the theater, on the slide, in the screen while you're eating some popcorn, you're talking to your friends, there's going to be advertisements right in front of you. We did the same thing. Prior to the movie starting, we had some slides on the screen. We were mostly advertising our stuff, our programs, but we also put it out there for sponsorship. And so a company could sponsor an ad to be one of the 7 or 8 slides that are in rotation prior to the movie. And we also ran it after the movie as well, right? It would just kind of be on repeat. So every minute or so, their advertisement would come across the screen for a handful of seconds, 7 seconds, let's say 8 seconds, that kind of thing. So that's a great idea. If you're doing movies in the park, consider that. So there's a fee involved, right? The sponsors get their name and logo message placed in front of a screen of a large audience. And if it's a kids movie, it's a family movie, the audience can be full of moms and dads and kids. And if that's your target audience as a company, somebody who wants to sponsor something, you're looking for the right target market, that your audience is going to be your target. So that became a great way to do it. All right, hopefully you like that one idea. This is a fun one. In-event announcements. So during the event, we already had the sound system set up. Let's talk about back in the movies in the park. We already have the sound system set up. So we had somebody making regular announcements during the event beforehand and afterwards, announcing the different sponsors that are there. So not only do they get their name on the screen, they also get an announcement verbally out loud through the speaker system. This really works well if you're running, say, a farmer's market through your, or one of those kind of community events where there's a bunch of different vendors already. And really, anytime you have food vendors at your event, you can be doing this for them as well. Maybe for additional fee, they can get their name announced during the program, right? Maybe there's they can add to it. There's a raffle. Hey, go over to Johnny's Burgers and get your name in the raffle to win a free whatever, right? So there's people that draws customers to them, so they get bang for their buck for their sponsorship. I mentioned food booths at events. Here it is, right? You can charge a commercial entity to be at your event. Those food trucks are great, but it could also be a tent booth as well, right? And it takes the headache off of us. We don't want to be in the concession business, all the hassle of going and getting all the food products and constantly refreshing and training staff and then managing all the monies, when we can have a commercial entity do all that and then pay a percentage of their profits, let's say, or maybe it's a flat rate, to us just to be at the event. So that it's a win-win for them. They're getting customers. They're selling out their food. We have no less hassle, but we also have food for our citizens, our customers, right? So it's actually value. The event has more value because there's food there. So yeah, we remove all the headache of concessions, and we just receive revenue. So we get the same benefit, but we receive revenue instead of the headache. I love it. So something to consider as well. The idea of partnering with community groups to free up resources. I'll share one quick example. We had a Halloween event where it was a kind of a dud kind of event. This is a smaller recreation district. And the event was kind of stale as it was, but there was another group in town. It was a church doing a huge trunk or treat, right? You guys all know the trunk or treat event. They had lost their facility they were doing it at. Their event was way too big for their parking lot. So we had them come over and do the event in basically in our parking lot in a park. There's lots of other parking, street parking for this event nearby. And so they could use the parking lot that we would typically do our farmers market on. It's a different night. They would do their Halloween event. We stopped doing our event, our stale event, and so we take those resources and those staff dollars and those all the money we spent on that event, and we were able to put that somewhere else. That's just like free revenue, right? That's like getting additional revenue because we saved it from one thing to use it somewhere else. So this idea of partnering with community groups can get pretty deep. In fact, I have a whole other session on that as well. We can go in that 75 minutes talking about partnering with community groups. Love it. Love that topic. But it's a great way to increase revenue, even if you're not getting dollars. You're just like you're getting dollars because by saving expenditures, that's money you can use elsewhere. All righty, jump into Group D, advertising, sponsorship revenue. So some of the obvious ones might be activity guide advertising, or when you any kind of program menu, any kind of newsletter, anything you're putting out for the public to know what it is that you're doing. There's room for advertising, right? You can determine the cost of producing the whole guide. You're going to know those costs, right? And therefore, you can determine the fee for the ads. There's some standards out there. You can look at what some of your neighbors are doing as well to kind of get the market value and figure out where fees should be. But the idea would be a back page. If the full back page ad is going to be a higher dollar than, say, the inside quarter panel, right? And there's some policies that go along with this. You don't want we do really want Budweiser beer sponsoring the page on the U Sports, right? So things can get sketchy. So you gotta have some policies in place about who and what kind of advertising, and usually it's a caveat about family friendly, that kind of idea. The other point is that our newsletters, our activity guides, our promotions like this, the booklet, the brochure, it's a living document. I know in public recreation, we'll go 3 months, 4 months, sometimes as many as 6 months. Here's the booklet. Here's everything we have in it, and this is a set document. Moms will keep this on the coffee table in the kitchen somewhere and look at it again and again, recheck it out. It lives on the it lives where guests can go over and see it. It has more value. Gosh, a newspaper ad might reach a lot of customers, but guess what? if they didn't turn to that page, they didn't read the paper that day, it's gone. A radio ad, same thing, right? What happens if it's on the radio? If you weren't listening during that time, or you weren't paying attention during the commercial, you didn't hear it, that kind of thing. So I love the fact that our activity guides, our newsletters, our brochures, they have so much value because they're a living document. They stand the test of time, all right, for many, many months, handful of months, let's say. Here's a controversial one. The idea of naming opportunities can be very controversial. In the commercial space for private sports facilities, probably already doing this, where you can rename a particular facility to be after a company. We see this in big time sports, baseball stadiums, football stadiums. They all get renamed after companies, right? So it's Staples Arena, right? They're advertising for Staples. So they do that all the time. When you're talking about commercial, we're talking about in public recreation, community recreation, where now it's a more controversial area where there might be a national, or not national, a regional name that's applied to the rec center, and that's the name it's going to be. We're not going to rename it after Bob's Tires. So, but one thing we can do is, how about the rooms inside? Each room could have an individual name instead of being room A and B and C, or instead of named after trees, for example. You can name it after a sponsor. Bob's Tires could be the Bob's Tires room, right? Or this room sponsored by Bob's Tires, and there's a sign that goes on the room when the people rent the room. They're seeing that name, so there's a value to the commercial entity who's doing the sponsorship, because their name is going to get in front of everybody who rents that facility. Everybody who comes through that facility is going to see that name on the wall, that kind of thing, right? We also did this with the tennis courts quite a bit. So every tennis court was a sponsorship opportunity. So instead of being tennis court 1, 2, 3 or ABC, they had particular sponsors. So they would sponsor a particular court, and it didn't have to cost a lot. So it was a great way to get sponsor companies to get on board for a cheaper price, because it didn't cost too much for them to sponsor a tennis court, and they can kind of get involved that way as well. So maybe this is your one idea. We got to mention online opportunities here. We're talking about sponsorships. We're talking about advertising. If you have a website, obviously we have websites, right? They're at the bottom corner on the side, left or right hand side. There's an opportunity for advertisements to be there. There's a lot of eyeballs on the website, because this is where information is most likely to be found by our customers. And so if their name is there, their company logo, their company message is there in front of our customers while they're registering for programs, there's a high value for that, right? So the homepage, of course, will be maybe more a higher value than deeper into the website, deeper interior pages, perhaps. Consider social media. As we market on our social media for our programs, we could also be highlighting this is sponsored by this particular company, right? So we have the idea here of a package where they can sign up for a package. They're going to get their name on the website. They're going to get their banner there on the website. They're going to get at the special event, we're going to announce you at the farmers market or at the movies in the park. We're going to announce your name there. You're going to be one of the slides, and you're also going to get, every time we mention any of these programs, we're going to mention that you're a sponsor of this program as we highlight these programs on social media. And we reach hundreds, we reach thousands, and so it's all about the eyeballs, right? They're paying for how many eyeballs they're going to be in front of, right? So something to consider is definitely the advertising and sponsorship. Mentioned the package already. Yep. The other concept is the idea of follow the info seekers. Where exactly are people going to look for your information? We already mentioned websites. We already mentioned social media. Definitely on our registration software, right? They're looking to register. They're scanning. They're browsing. They're looking around. There's a space for opportunity here for sponsorships. How about on receipts, right? As you print out the receipt, at the bottom of the receipt, whatever your receipt mechanism is, there's an opportunity for you to go into the settings and put an advertisement there. And if you're not using this now, I'd really encourage you to use this, even if it's for your own programs, right? So at the very least, use the receipt to be highlighting what upcoming programs there are. So this is the piece of paper that gets handed to or printed out by them, or maybe it's digital, right? The email is sent, but even still, at the bottom of the email is the receipt is an advertisement for the next thing we're doing. It could also be an advertisement for a sponsor, or both, right? We can have room for both. Maybe this is your one idea you take away. How about this? Info seekers, they walk into our lobby. They're asking questions, right? I'm just curious to know about swim lessons. In those lobbies should be some TV screens or monitors, if you will. And on that should be, at very least, be a slideshow that's flashing different programs that we do that show smiling faces doing the karate, doing the tennis, doing the swim lessons, right? If you have a video to put up as well, that's even a greater value as well, because it catches more attention. But the fact that there's a screen there ready to go helps folks who are, maybe if they wait in line a little bit, it's something for them to look at, right? Something for them to watch. But more important, if they came in for the swim lessons and they see on the screen tennis lessons and karate, they might not have realized that you had those opportunities. And now they think, Johnny loves swim lessons. Johnny loves karate. Johnny would love this class, right? And so now you're upselling, you're increasing our registrations simply because we had a TV screen, a monitor with a slideshow in our lobbies, right? Think about this last idea. We all have the rec rooms, the spaces that we do the programs in. You know, the basketball court, even maybe not the basketball court, but how about the dance room, right? There's and lobbies. If you have blank walls, you have opportunity, right? If you have blank walls, you have opportunity. On those walls, why can't we have pictures framed, gorgeous pictures of people in our program smiling, laughing, enjoying our program, highlighting those programs that we have available. Again, just like the TV screen idea. Mom's going to come in to register Johnny for one program and realize, wow, they have these other programs as too. Let's sign Johnny up for those as well. So it's a way to increase program revenue as well, simply by doing something as simple as having these pictures on the wall. Plus, it looks great. You know, the picture says 1,000 words idea. I love this idea. It really spices up the lobbies and your rec rooms, and your conference rooms as well. Plus, it advertises for you without feeling like an advertisement, right? It's just a picture of people enjoying the programs and the benefit. It highlights the benefit that we have to our communities, right? Right. All right. No, lobbies and registration text. There we go. All right. Under the same topic of following the information seekers, how about checking out the bulletin boards? There's a community bulletin board. Sometimes there's a digital board. You have those opportunities where you're highlighting information about what we have going on. We can also be sponsoring there, right? There's the digital sign at the street. Directional signs inside the community center. So like a hotel, you walk in, there's a lobby sign that says, hey, you're looking for a room, such and such room. It's this direction. The other event is over here, right? The name of the event tells you which way to go. You can have these directional signs inside your community center for folks that are coming in. Maybe they're looking for room B, which is sponsored by Bob's Tires. It's that direction. On that sign itself is room for a sponsorship, right? Maybe next to the park sign, where the name of the park is listed as well. Might be an idea. All right. This is a fun one. A lot of agencies will do a vehicle wrap if they have vehicles that are moving between different facilities. That way, when you're moving along from spot to spot, you're advertising for all of your products. Maybe there's a spot for a sponsor on there as well, right? At the very least, if it's just your agency, your company name on all over the car in a splash style, showing the benefits of recreation on the car, that's great too, right? That's still going to lead towards more attention, more eyeballs knowing about your programs. So that's a good thing. But maybe on the back bumper, there's room for a changeable sponsorship. Of course, longer lasting, because we're not going to replace it all the time. So maybe this is a year-long deal. You can charge for that, right? You can charge the sponsorship to be on the car that drives around and everybody looks at. We mentioned sponsorships. We talked about this, yeah. How many eyes are gonna be on the ad? You want to put all these options, all these packages into a nice brochure. You want to actually pursue customers. You can't just wait for them to come to us. We want to be pursuing them. Go to the nonprofits, go to the businesses, bring your brochure and ask them if they're interested in being a sponsor and talk about the benefits of it, right? So that's one way to gain more sponsorship. Some agencies I've been with, they've had a nice sponsorship program, but they had nobody doing the sponsorships because the people who the companies that might be sponsors didn't know about it. So we gotta make sure they know about it. There's a couple issues getting buy-in from elected officials. it takes time to put together, right? And once they sign up, then you have to manage the process. You have to deliver on the promises that you made to these sponsors. That's important to consider as well. All right, let's jump to E. We're going to talk about adding value. The idea here is the idea of punch cards or season passes. Basically, they get more for less dollars. Let's see. The $4 entry might equal at the pool, let's say, $100 for a season pass, right? So like the fitness center idea, people will come in January and sign up for a fitness membership and they end up paying for the whole year. Do they attend the whole year? No, they do not. Maybe by January, maybe by February, they are done coming, but they're still paying for it. The idea is even with the swim pass is they pay for whatever that would be, 25 entries. They might not use them all, right? So then that's better for us. That's more revenue for us than if they would have come. But they like the idea that they can go anytime, but they might not have come that much. So, or another way to do it, exactly what I just said. Right? Maybe it's come as often as you want during these months to the pool for a swim pass. They love that benefit. I can go anytime, but do they? Maybe they do. Even if they do, we love having them in our facility because the facility is more active. There's more sales at the concession stand. There's more, it's still a win-win either way, right? So something to consider. Memberships are the same way. It's the fitness center model is what we're talking about there. So the patron feels like they're saving money, but they might not use it as much. This is a fun one, the idea of gift cards. So if you're not doing gift cards, especially as we get towards fall, you're leading up towards the Christmas time and the gift giving season, right? People can purchase recreation as a gift for others. A lot of grandmas will do this for their grandkids. They get a little gift card, it's a great stocking stuffer, that kind of idea. It's something you would definitely want to promote heavily. What's our benefit? Hey, we get more registrations. That's awesome. Let's see if we got anything over here. Okay, good. Just double checking something. Incoming question: how do we regulate rented outdoor courts? So there was a question in the chat. I'll jump back to right now. How do you regulate renters of the outdoor courts? Basically, we'll talk about that here. No, actually, that's a whole different session. The idea is the facility tenants. So especially evenings and weekends, if I have facility tenants who are checking in people for the sports fields and for the community center, they're also going to know that there's a court rented. They'll pop over and check it out as well. Really, it's almost self-regulated. If they bring their receipt and somebody's there, they can say, "Hey, I have this court." There's always a phone number I give them to call. We would have a phone for our facility tenants that is an agency phone. That is the hot number. It's always the same number. That phone gets passed to whoever's on duty, and so they can always make that phone call, and somebody will come out and handle the issues that might be if there's some kind of conflict, right? So, but typically we like to meet them there when they start their rental. So if it's at a time when all the courts are going to be full, definitely want somebody to pop in there and see that they're all right getting on the court. No problem. Great. It's a quick, meet them and go. If they're renting it during a time when there's hardly going to be anybody on the court, I'm probably not even worried about it. They're going to be able to get their court. They reserved it just for their own mental safety, right? Let's see. Good deal. So that handles that question. So let's jump back to loyalty programs. Got a couple minutes left here before we get to the Q&A. We're talking about adding value to revenue. This is the idea of the coffee shop idea. You buy 10 coffees, you get one free. Can we do that for our classes? Can we do that? They get dollars off of the class if they spend a certain dollar amount, maybe in registrations, right? So that way, based on dollar amount, that way it's you're giving a less percentage back. So it's still a fun idea. It's a way of creating loyalty. These people become ambassadors. People who take our programs and love us, they'll keep taking our classes. We want to reward them if we can as well. So we want happy patrons. All right, let's go here. We got creative ways to add value. You want to give them more than they expect. Additional revenue. In our fitness center, I added the value of the aqua aerobics in the pool, right? Just as part of your membership. So we had more people show up for the aqua aerobics, which was kind of struggling as it was. And so that brought more people there. It made it a livelier event, but more fun for everybody else. But even though there was not additional, you didn't get the additional $1.50 for the aqua aerobics, people would show up because they were part of their fitness membership in different locations, right? So it became a, especially during the summer, an added bonus, right? The extra value. They love that. Talking about concessions, we want to be sold. Oh, we talked about concessions already. If it's sold by us, it's in our office. Maybe if our office is next to the disc golf course, then we can be selling discs. If we're next to a tennis course, we could be selling tennis balls, right? There's some concessions that can happen that way. Talking about non-food items. But really, when you think of concessions, you think of at the sports complex, right? We don't want to be doing this ourselves. I want another entity to come in and do all the headache of the entity of the selling, and I want to be able to get the revenue from that because they're going to pay a flat rate or a monthly or a percentage of the sales, right? And this is great. This worked out great for especially for nonprofits. They can come in, they can call a fundraiser. A lot of their people will come just because there's a fundraiser, and so you get some more sales because it's a fundraiser. And we're still going to get a little bit of a fee for that, and make some money that way as well. It's possible to lease out. This is an idea that a lot of places don't think about, or maybe you just don't have an opportunity, right, of a facility to use for this. But if you have a unused room, or maybe it's low used, and you can move that program somewhere else and make that room available, we can lease it to another nonprofit, another commercial entity, and then we're getting revenue for that building as well, right? I did want to mention a second idea inside of a current rec center. In my example, it was a senior center, and we had this room. It was kind of like 10 by 12 in there. A travel agency leased that from us to run their business. So anybody could come from the outside and come in and talk right through the lobby. They just, it's right there by the front door, and talk about travel. But really, the benefit for the travel agency was getting into relationship built with all the seniors that would come in and chat and talk. And the seniors they have spendable income, expendable income. They are looking to travel. And so, man, they got so many different bookings just off of being in the senior center because they were a friend of the seniors. Now people loved going with that agency because it was easy for them. They already came to the senior center. They can just have a chat with the travel lady and book some travel and eat lunch and do their chair aerobics, and it was a win-win-win, right? So there's my example for you there. All right, finishing up here with donation revenue. Some unusual sources, right? Sometimes we get there's a potential for revenue from additional sources. So my example here is the prison. We had a local prison near us, and they had a wood shop. And in a meeting I went to that the prison put on and kind of highlight what they do for the community, and so they started mentioning that they had a wood shop class and no projects. So I raised my hand like, hey, we have these picnic tables in our park that are constantly getting vandalized. As we catch them as we can, but we have these damaged facilities. We'd love to have new picnic tables swapped out. So in the end, we ended up with regular picnic tables coming to our facility and replacing the damaged ones for free and delivered. And they started getting better. The woodworking got better and better as it went along. So just by being in the right place at the right time and being aware of what possibilities exist, I was able to make this partnership here, and they donated that. The second thing that happened from this prison conversation was it turns out that prisoners in prison, in jail, they actually crave Burger King and Wendy's just like the rest of us might. So they have a program where somebody on staff will take their money and go get their order at the local Burger King or Wendy's or whatever, and then they actually pay twice as much. So what happens is it becomes a fundraiser. The additional revenue, the prison puts that into a fundraiser, a bucket to make a donation to. And the warden says, we have this money, we just don't have enough ideas on where to put it. And I'm like, hey, we have a camp over on the coast. We are taking kids to the coast. It's a couple hours away. Send a kid to camp program. Let's sponsor a camper ship. So we were able to use that money to sponsor camper ships from the prison as well. Just indeed, it all stemmed from being in the right place, right time, and thinking about what possibilities could happen here. When we think of donations, this often happens. I think it's one of the final two things here. We're wrapping up. memorial purchases, people want something in memory of. All right, you want to make sure the fee, this is important, the fee's got to cover maintenance costs and replacement if it gets vandalized, right? These are typically going to be benches, there's going to be a tree perhaps, that kind of thing. So we had a tree, a memorial tree that blew down in the storm one time, and but they had not collected any monies for replacement, so it's yeah, we we had to replace it on our own because the memorial tree had to stay going. So something to consider there. In-kind donations. We mentioned partnering with community groups already. You know, trying to find an equal value exchange is a great way to increase in-kind donations, even if it's not dollars. It could be a new program. It could be additional service, maybe additional patrol of a park, community patrol, that kind of thing for safety. So again, that's a whole nother session. You see my little red guy? I have a whole nother session we do on partnering with community groups. So all right, made it through. Now a chance for the question and answer time. Maybe Keisha can help me if my audio is still not working. Let me put these specs back on so I can see what we're doing. Let's see, I got the questions right here. People can hear me. Great. Let me scroll down. Excellent. So I guess I don't know if Keisha, you want to jump in on the question and answers. Oh, no questions so far. Okay. So that is fantastic. Any topics we want to jump back to and maybe dive in a little deeper? Okay, so we got that. We're going good. All right. Yeah, we answered that question as well. Good. No, it's been real awesome to be able to talk to you guys. How about this? Maybe in the chat you can is there one thing that you're willing to say, yeah, this is a new idea, this is something I hadn't thought of before, I want to start implementing this next week? What grabbed your attention, perhaps? Maybe we can comment on that. See if we can highlight a couple of things. What grabbed your attention? Throw an answer into the chat, if you will. Let's see. Anybody? All right. So just want to make sure you guys knew that this is recorded. So you're going to receive the recording plus the PowerPoint as well. So you can take, if your notes didn't catch everything, if I was talking way too fast, you can, you'll be able to get this, and you can rewatch it if you want to at your own pace, right? You can go through the slides and maybe capture some ideas. Maybe there's somebody, a coworker of yours that you had this idea for, and you can't really figure out how to relay that to them. You can share them PowerPoint with them as well. And again, if you are interested in any of the other topics and doing a deep dive, I'd love to come out to your company or to your agency and talk to you guys more about that. That'd be awesome. So other than that, hopefully we'll see you at some of the different Parks and Recreation conferences. I'd like to go to most of the states as they invite me. So look forward to seeing you guys there. We want to thank DaySmart for all of their efforts in putting on this program. Okay, I think we have a new question here. Special licenses needed to show movies. So the answer to that is yes, and definitely because if you're doing it for hundreds and hundreds of people, you definitely want to get that licenses. And there's a couple different companies out there that you can go through. The names are slipping my mind right now. I'll try and come up with those. Maybe if somebody knows those names, they can put it down in there in the chat. But no, you definitely get the license. If you go through a company, they'll have the license for you. It's a few $100 and off you go. It's just part of the program, part of the cost of doing the program. Another question. Oh, it was a takeaway. The effort needed to equal the revenue output. Yeah, so what happens is as the program, as it continues, getting it started, there's a lot more effort, right? And as you have the packages in place, let's say you've put the brochure together of here's the packages that we have. And as you're able to highlight those packages, that brochure, by taking it physically to companies as well as it's available online. It could be a social media blast. Hey, if you're interested in a sponsorship, click here and you can get the brochure. It answers all the questions about what we have available for you. Once that work is done, it's easy to update, right? So this is going to be a living document that's going to live for a while. We're going to want to update it as the years go by because things change, right? Or maybe you add a new package. You thought of something new, a new way to do it. But really, every interaction you have in your community is a potential sponsorship. So when you're going and you're talking to the board of the AYSO soccer group, right? You can bring these packages along with you and be like, hey, by the way, I don't know if you guys knew this. If any of you have businesses, here's some sponsorship opportunities. So you're already there. It's not an additional effort. You're already talking to a community group. Give them the information, right? So it's about being proactive on your part, even with what you're already doing. So then it doesn't have to be a whole lot of extra work, extra time. Let me put these specs back on. Thank you. We got a couple compliments. Good presentation. So I appreciate you guys coming. I think we're getting close to our time window. Hopefully that answered your question about the revenue output there. So I do appreciate everyone coming in. We are going to send this to you. Let's see what else we got. Oh, I see. Move that over. Excellent. All right. So at this time, I think we are going to say goodbye. I want to go out there and be energized to go create new revenue, right? That's the motivation today. Hopefully we spurred your creative juices and you're off and running and you probably have a notepad full of possibilities. Go make those possibilities reality. Thank you guys much. We'll talk to you next time. See you on the next webinar.